A warm welcome to the All Things Year 6 podcast, where we unravel the maze that is Year 6 and the all-important transition to Year 7. As we approach the first half-term break of the new school year, there are 3 things that you need to action in order to take stock of where your child is at with their learning. My name is Ty Ina, and in today's episode, I will cover those 3 action points. The first thing I want to encourage you to do is to make contact with your child's class teacher. Most primary schools offer what we call a settling in parent consultation meeting, and it does exactly what it says on the tin. It's an opportunity for you to have a discussion with your child's class teacher to see how they've settled into the new school year, how they're embracing the new school curriculum. Whilst 6 weeks appears to be, a relatively short period of time in the grand scheme of a whole school year, it's long enough for your child's class teacher to have taken stock. So it's an opportunity for them to share with you and celebrate the successes that your child has already experienced in terms of their learning, but also in terms of, them as a, a whole student. So in terms of their confidence, independence, resilience, and so on. Importantly, it's an opportunity for your child's class teacher to share any niggles that they might have at this early stage. Of course, niggles, if left, unaddressed, can become unnecessarily so much greater challenges. And so, together with your child's class teacher, niggles, concerns can be identified, they can be discussed, and a plan of action put into place. Equally, it's a time for you as a parent to also share anything that you've noticed about your child. So again, starting with the positive things that you've noticed, perhaps especially if they're in Year 6, that final year of primary, it might be that you've noticed an increased confidence, resilience, independence. Perhaps your child is taking greater ownership of their learning journey. So it's a really good, time to share this. Again, if there's anything that you've noticed, please don't hold back. No concern, no niggle is too small when it comes to your child. So if there's anything that you've noticed or anything that your child has shared with you, any struggles, any challenges, now is the time to mention it to your child's class teacher so that, again, together you can come up with a plan of action. It's important, for me to stress, and I think I've said this, in previous episodes, that you are your child's mouthpiece. And, whilst, this 5-minute consultation may not be long enough for you to, really share and discuss anything that might be of concern to you, schedule another meeting with your child's class teacher where you're not limited, by, those 5 minutes or so. I think the important thing is that if your child's school, if you haven't had a meeting yet, and it doesn't appear that a meeting is scheduled for after the half-term break, you need to be proactive and make an appointment with your child's class teacher yourself. It's important not to let a whole term pass by without making contact with your child's class teacher. The second thing I want to encourage you to do is to have a conversation with your child during the half-term break. Now, you probably and are most definitely having conversations with your child already, impromptu conversations on a daily basis. I'm talking of a more focused conversation, particularly during the half-term break when, perhaps both of you are down in tools for a couple of days. And whilst this, meeting conversation with your child might seem somewhat, formal, it's really, really important to check in with them at this early stage and have that overview of what's been going on. I'd even encourage you to have a notebook handy when you have this conversation. So whilst it might seem, somewhat formal, a notebook can have a really beneficial use. I would suggest that this conversation be twofold. The first part should be specifically around your child's learning. Let them share with you what has gone well, what they are happy with, what they are celebrating in relation to their actual learning. It might be that, they just feel more confident in maths. They seem to be getting to grips with these, objectives. So start with the successes. And then, because, the half-term break is a time for this much needed breather, your child is probably better placed to have a good evaluation and also identify and share with you any little niggles or worries that they are having around their learning. And what this means is that, if there are specific objectives, if they're struggling with the times tables or they feel they need to be reading more, you can make note of the objectives. You can make notes in that notebook and schedule time with your child where you are perhaps going to reteach, or you are just going to be that support that they need to, get back on track. It might be that you feel after that discussion, I need to get some more advice from my child's class teacher. Or perhaps I need to look on the school website. There might be resources readily available for me to use. It might be that you decide, actually, during half term, we're going to go online and tap into the many, many available support resources out there. It might be that you're going to go further and say, well, actually, from what my child has said during this conversation, I need to engage and start having a discussion with a tutor. The second part of this discussion will just be about anything and everything. So what else has been going on besides the actual, academics? Some primary schools have already had residential school trips. If your child is in year 6, there'll be discussions about moving to secondary school. There'll be discussions about those SATs next May. Discussions about growth, about growing, maturing, independence, resilience, confidence. So have, again, discussions with your child about any of those areas and more. Perhaps it's then that they might, divulge that, there've been a few friendship issues, not uncommon for, children who are coming to the end of primary school, moving into secondary. So really, really important to touch base in a perhaps more focused way than you are able to, when it's full on in school and, perhaps you're at work. The third thing I want to encourage you to do is to action your child's secondary school application. You should have received information and an application pack from your child's school. You need to check when the application needs to be submitted. It varies, according to local authority, but the majority, it's at the end of October, so October 31st. So I dare say that, one of your tasks during this first 6 weeks would have been visiting secondary schools with your child, attending those open evenings, those open afternoons to enable you to make that right choice of secondary school. So if you're not sure, look at the information pack, check with your child's class teacher, your child's school, and make sure that you get in that application for secondary school. Most local authorities confirm places in March, but again, check if you are not sure. So, to conclude, the first half-term break is certainly a time for a much needed breather after 6 weeks of being back at school. It's an important time to take stock of where your child is at in terms of their learning needs and school life in general. It gives you an opportunity to identify any niggles, any concerns, and address them sooner rather than later. As your child's voice piece, you of course need to take the lead and be proactive without reservation or apology. It's important for me to say that although, the 3 areas that I've discussed in today's episode, that I've encouraged you to action, have been around, year 6 students. The first 2 certainly apply to students in all primary years and not just year 6. Okay, that's all from me. Have a restful half-term break, and I look forward to you joining me for the next episode. Take care. Bye-bye.